In a remote corner of Brazil, two men embarked on a mysterious journey, climbing a desolate hill under the vast, indifferent sky. Their purpose, shrouded in secrecy, would soon lead to a discovery that baffled authorities and ignited decades of speculation. This is the beginning of a chilling enigma, a tale of ambition, belief, and an unexplained demise that continues to haunt the annals of unsolved mysteries. Days later, their lifeless bodies were discovered on that very hillside. They were found dressed in formal suits, an unsettling detail, and, most strikingly, wearing lead masks over their faces. The scene was devoid of any obvious signs of violence, yet the circumstances screamed of a profound and disturbing event. The lead masks, typically used for radiation protection, added an immediate layer of bizarre complexity to their deaths, hinting at a planned, perhaps ritualistic, end. There were no visible wounds on their bodies, no indications of a struggle, and absolutely no immediate explanation for their sudden and perplexing deaths. The tranquility of the scene starkly contrasted with the unsettling nature of the discovery, leaving investigators with more questions than answers. This absence of conventional evidence only deepened the mystery, suggesting a scenario far removed from typical criminal investigations. The date was August 20th, 1966. On a steep, sun-baked hillside just outside the city of Niterói, Brazil, a young boy, innocently chasing his kite, stumbled upon a sight that would forever be etched into his memory and into the history of unsolved cases. What he saw lying in the tall grass was profoundly strange and utterly unexpected, setting in motion an investigation that would span generations and defy logical explanation. He found two men, lying side by side, perfectly motionless. They were meticulously dressed in identical gray suits and matching raincoats, an unusual attire for a remote hillside. The precision of their clothing, coupled with their serene, undisturbed posture, suggested a deliberate arrangement rather than a chaotic struggle, adding to the eerie stillness of the scene. Their faces were completely obscured by thick, heavy lead masks, the very kind used to block radiation. These masks, designed for protection against hazardous elements, raised immediate and profound questions about the nature of their final moments. Why would two men wear such masks in this remote location? And what exactly were they protecting themselves from, or perhaps preparing for? When police finally ascended the challenging slope, they meticulously searched the area but found no discernible signs of violence or foul play. The scene was eerily calm. Beside the two bodies, investigators discovered an empty bottle of water, two wet towels, and a small, unassuming notebook. These seemingly mundane items would soon prove to be crucial, yet cryptic, clues in a case that defied conventional understanding. Inside the small notebook, on one particular page, a chilling message was found, written in Portuguese. It read, 1630, be at the location. 1830, ingest capsules. After effect, protect metals, await signal. This cryptic directive, precise in its timing and instructions, hinted at a pre-planned event, a deliberate sequence of actions leading to their demise. The mention of capsules and protecting metals only deepened the enigma, suggesting a scientific or perhaps esoteric purpose. The meaning of this strange message, found at the scene of their deaths, remained utterly incomprehensible to the investigators. It offered no clear answers, only more layers of perplexing questions. The cryptic nature of the note, combined with the bizarre circumstances, immediately elevated the case from a simple death investigation to a profound and unsettling mystery that would challenge every logical explanation. The victims were identified as Manuel Pereira de Cruz and Miguel Jose Viano, both electronics technicians from the nearby town of Campos dos Goitacazes. Their professional background in electronics would later become a significant, albeit perplexing, detail in understanding their motivations and the strange events that unfolded. They were ordinary men, yet their final act was anything but ordinary. They had informed their families that they were traveling to Rio de Janeiro to purchase essential supplies for their electronics workshop. However, instead of heading to Rio, they took a bus to Niterói, carrying substantial sums of cash and, as events would prove, a deeply mysterious and undisclosed purpose. This deviation from their stated plans was the first clear indication that their journey was far from a routine business trip, hinting at a secret agenda. Witnesses who encountered them shortly before their deaths later recalled seeing them purchasing raincoats and a bottle of water. They described the men as appearing noticeably anxious, yet they maintained a polite and composed demeanor. This blend of anxiety and politeness painted a picture of individuals under immense internal pressure, meticulously preparing for an event of profound significance, while trying to maintain an outward facade of normalcy. As darkness fell on that fateful night, several independent witnesses reported seeing a bright, inexplicable orange light hovering in the sky directly above the very hill where the men's bodies would later be discovered. This sighting added a new, unsettling dimension to the case, introducing elements of the unexplained and fueling speculation about extraterrestrial involvement or other paranormal phenomena, further complicating the already bizarre circumstances. The subsequent autopsies performed on Manuel Pereira de Cruz and Miguel Jose Vianu yielded no conclusive findings. There were no signs of physical injuries, no evidence of poisoning, and absolutely no indications of a struggle. The bodies were remarkably pristine, as if the men had simply lain down and passed away without any external force or internal distress. This lack of conventional forensic evidence only deepened the mystery, defying typical medical explanations for death. Further toxicology tests proved inconclusive, primarily because Brazil, at that time, lacked the sophisticated equipment necessary for deeper, more comprehensive analyses. This technological limitation meant that crucial avenues of investigation, particularly regarding potential unknown substances, remained unexplored, leaving a significant gap in the forensic understanding of their deaths. The inability to perform advanced tests left many questions unanswered, contributing to the enduring enigma. Police initially speculated that the men might have ingested some form of powerful hallucinogen, perhaps expecting to communicate with otherworldly beings or experience a profound spiritual journey. This theory suggested that their deaths were an accidental overdose, a tragic miscalculation in a quest for altered consciousness. However, this explanation struggled to account for the meticulous preparations and the specific items found at the scene, particularly the lead masks. Yet, the overall scene of their discovery didn't quite fit the narrative of a chaotic overdose. Their belongings were found arranged with an almost unsettling precision, as if they had been following a very specific, predetermined set of instructions. This meticulous order suggested a deliberate, controlled sequence of events rather than a random, drug-induced collapse, challenging the initial police hypothesis and pointing towards a more complex, orchestrated scenario. The presence of the lead masks was particularly perplexing. Such masks were not necessary for any known scientific experiment or spiritual ritual of the time, unless, of course, the men were anticipating exposure to radiation, or perhaps something far more extraordinary and unknown, something beyond the realm of conventional understanding. The masks hinted at a perceived threat or a specific environmental condition they expected to encounter, adding a layer of scientific or pseudoscientific intent to their final moments. Friends and acquaintances of the deceased later informed investigators that Manuel and Miguel had a deep fascination with the paranormal and had even constructed various homemade gadgets. These devices, they claimed, were designed to detect UFOs and spiritual energies, indicating a profound belief in phenomena beyond the ordinary. This revelation provided a crucial insight into their worldview and potential motivations, suggesting a quest for contact with the unknown. They were fervent believers in what they termed electronic contact, a method of communication with unseen entities through the manipulation of light and vibration. This belief system suggested a highly specific, technologically driven approach to spiritual or extraterrestrial interaction, aligning with their backgrounds as electronics technicians. Their pursuit was not merely philosophical, but actively experimental, seeking tangible connections to other realms. Their enigmatic notebook contained a plethora of other cryptic notes, further deepening the mystery. Among these were lists of various tests, sequences of numbers, and repeated references to an intense luminosity. These entries suggested a systematic, almost scientific, approach to their unusual pursuits, hinting at a series of experiments or observations they were conducting, all leading up to the fateful encounter on the hillside. The lingering questions were profound. Had they meticulously planned a scientific experiment that went tragically awry? Were they seeking a spiritual ascension, a transcendence to another plane of existence? Or, perhaps most unsettlingly, were they manipulated by an unknown individual or group who vanished without a trace after their deaths? The possibilities were vast and unsettling, each one adding a new dimension to the already complex puzzle. Despite extensive forensic examination of the crime scene, no fingerprints other than those belonging to Manuel Pereira de Cruz and Miguel Jose Viano were ever discovered. This absence of any other human trace suggested that either the men were entirely alone in their final moments, or that whoever else was present was meticulously careful not to leave any identifying marks, further complicating the investigation and fueling theories of a highly organized, clandestine operation. Adding another layer of the inexplicable, multiple independent witnesses reported seeing glowing orbs of light hovering directly over the same hill on the very night the men died. These sightings, consistent across various accounts, introduced a strong element of the paranormal or extraterrestrial into the narrative, suggesting that something truly extraordinary occurred in the skies above Niterói that evening. While police officials largely dismissed these reports of glowing orbs as mass hysteria or misidentification, one astute investigator made a crucial observation. He noted that the soil immediately surrounding the bodies was oddly scorched, as if it had been briefly exposed to an intense, localized burst of extreme heat. This physical evidence, though subtle, lent credence to the idea that an unusual energy source had been present, challenging the conventional explanations and hinting at a phenomenon beyond ordinary comprehension. The 1960s were a period when UFO fever was at its absolute height in Brazil, with widespread reports and intense public fascination. Intriguingly, several other similar contactee deaths occurred around the same region during this era. All these cases remained unsolved, and all shared unsettling commonalities. They involved individuals with an interest in electronics and were accompanied by strange, cryptic instructions, drawing a chilling parallel to the lead mask's case and suggesting a broader, interconnected phenomenon. Whatever transpired on that desolate hillside that night, it was clear that Manuel and Miguel were meticulously prepared for it. They had dressed specifically for an encounter, donning their suits and raincoats with a sense of purpose. They had climbed the challenging terrain, driven by an unknown imperative to meet whatever awaited them. And tragically, after that fateful ascent, they never returned, leaving behind only questions and an enduring, unsettling silence. Decades have now passed since that perplexing night, yet the lead mask's case remains officially open in Brazil's National Archives, a testament to its enduring mystery. Every conceivable theory has been proposed and debated over the years, from radiation exposure and cult rituals to clandestine government experiments, and, most dramatically, extraterrestrial contact. Each theory attempts to explain the inexplicable, yet none fully encompass all the bizarre facts. The frustrating truth is that none of the proposed theories perfectly fit every single fact of the case, leaving significant gaps and unanswered questions. Consequently, the families of Manuel and Miguel have never received true closure, forever grappling with the unknown circumstances of their loved ones' deaths. As a final, poignant detail, the enigmatic lead masks were buried with the men, taking their secrets to the grave and symbolizing the unresolved nature of the entire affair. In the end, Manuel Pereira de Cruz and Miguel Jose Viano were two men who, driven by an extraordinary belief, ventured into the unknown, convinced they were about to witness something truly remarkable and transformative. Instead, they tragically became an indelible part of the very mystery they sought to unravel, their deaths transforming them into enigmatic figures in one of Brazil's most enduring and perplexing unsolved cases. This has been Truth in the Shadows, a journey into the unexplained where the boundaries between faith and physics blur, where the pursuit of knowledge can lead to unforeseen dangers, and where an insatiable curiosity, when pushed to its limits, can ultimately prove to be deadly. Join us again as we delve deeper into the world's most baffling enigmas.